Greetings. Welcome to Queen Elle TV. This is Elle. So today is Friday, April 8th, 2022. And I just wanted to hop in here and give a quick update. So I mentioned in my previous video that I have had an MRI of my lumbar spine scheduled for today. So I had that done. It was very uneventful. One moment. Mom's duties are never done. Anyway, so I had the MRI done today, and like I said, it was very uneventful. The if you've ever had an MRI done, they're just really noisy. I've never had one done of my spine before. I've only had brain MRIs done before. So I just had to lay flat on my back, and the tech gave me a little bulb attached to a wire, and he said to squeeze it if I needed him for anything, and he would come and grab me. Otherwise, he gave me some headphones to put on that I suppose were supposed to be noise canceling. They were not at all. I mean, maybe they were somewhat, but it didn't really seem like it. So MRIs are very noisy. The machine kind of runs you up into it, and you just have to be still. He told me just to be still like a statue. So he said that it would probably take no more than 17 or 18 minutes, and I can imagine that that's how long it took. He asked me what type of music I liked, and he played some music in the headphones. Didn't really drown out the sound of the MRI, but it wasn't that bad. I will say, and also he put a pillow under my knees just to help with the fact that I was laying flat on my back. So I will say that as I was laying there towards maybe the last third of the time that I was there, it got quite painful in my lower back, and then having to get up. He actually asked me when he slid me out. He asked me, how I was doing, and I told him, I was okay, just my back was hurting. And he asked me, he was really kind. He asked me how he could help me. And I just, he slid the pillow out from under my knees. Then he asked how he could help me. And I asked if he could just lend me a hand to help me pull myself up. Because, of course, what he didn't know is I'm also dealing with this umbilical hernia. So the strain of having to get up from a completely flat position is painful in itself and uncomfortable. So where at home, if I don't usually lay completely flat. I usually am propped up on some pillows when I sleep. But if I were to be laying mostly flat, I would roll to my side and then kind of help get myself up. So he was kind enough to help me with that. And he told me that because today is Friday, that my doctor who ordered the MRI, my apologies. Okay, so my doctor who ordered the MRI was my neurologist, and he said that she would get the results on Monday. So, and what I love is by getting these tests within my network, I'm able to see the results online as well, even before speaking to my doctor usually. So we'll see about that. Now, I did want to report on, so yesterday, I've linked the video from yesterday. I said that I was doing the video kind of leaning back like this because I was in pain. Well, when I finished recording, I was getting out of my van and noticed that I felt even stiffer. And it just really feels like someone is just like clenching on my spine. It just really just in the middle, they're just putting a squeeze on me. So, sorry about that. I see my reflection. Anyway, so it felt really painful and uncomfortable. Well, that was yesterday morning, and by the afternoon, I was just, I mean, it was excruciating pain. I mean, I'm usually at about a 4 or 5 on a scale of 0 to 10 on my personal pain level. That's what I usually feel. Um, a twinge here and there can be like a 7 or 8. I was pushing about a 9. It was quite painful. Just to move. Any movement was super painful yesterday. So I ended up taking ibuprofen and Tylenol. I was alternating them, and that's what I'm doing right now. I've noticed that it's not as bad today as it was yesterday. I'm not sure what happened. I didn't do anything to myself, didn't strain myself, didn't pull a muscle or anything. So I ended up sending, yesterday evening, I sent my neurologist a message online just asking, telling her what happened with my back and how it was mostly the middle of my back. And I asked her, with this MRI capture the middle of my back, or was it just the lower part? Because from what I understand, the lumbar spine is that lower part of your back. So she said it actually is just capturing the lower part of my back, and that she said that that's because when the nerve conduction test and the EMG or electromyography were done, that they were only, it was because I was reporting lower back pain at the time. So they were only looking at that point. And once they got, up to my lower back from my legs, then they stopped there. So she said that if I'm now saying that I'm having some really bad middle back pain, that's just something else that she'll need to look into. So, like, okay. So I was hoping that there would be a way that she could just order an additional part of the MRI to also check the middle of my back. But apparently it's like a escalation, I guess, as far as the tests go. You still start with the nerve test and the EMG, and then if they find something, then you go to the MRI. So that would kind of be jumping ahead. I just thought, well, while I'm in there, can you just take some images of the middle of my back? But nevertheless, I do know there's stuff going on with my lower back. So the guy, the tech, told me today that they got some really good images, according to him. So we'll see. I just know I was in pain while I was laying there. So I was thinking, okay, I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of feel like I know how I'm feeling most of the time, but then you get to the doctor and they're like, well, you seem fine to me. So laying there and feeling the pain, it almost was comforting, because it's like, I know I'm in pain and it would be great for somebody to pick up on it, some of these tests. So then while since the location where I was getting the MRI done is also in the same building where my specialists are located, I've been having a hard time getting in contact with my rheumatologist regarding my lab test from a couple weeks ago. So, well, I took the test maybe 3 weeks ago, and the results came in a couple weeks ago. So I've been going back and forth with the nurses in that office and still hadn't spoken to or received any contact from the actual doctors that I've seen. So finally, I sent them, well, when I went to get the MRI, I asked the guy behind the counter, how could I get in touch with someone in that office since I'm there? And he was like, well, I would just go there if there's enough time after your MRI. So I tried that. When I got there, I knew that it was around closing time. So I sent a quick message to the nurse in that office, and she responded and said, well, my boss, I asked, is there an office manager that I can speak to? And so she said, well, my boss actually is gone for the day and it's Friday. So she said, I have given your doctor all these messages from you. And she apologized again. And she said, well, I'll give them, the message. So she said, the office manager will probably be able to call you Monday. So I thanked her for that. And then, just like magic, while I was getting gas after getting my MRI, my rheumatologist calls. And I figured it's no coincidence because she could see the messages that I was sending with the nurse as well. But I felt like it was no coincidence that, bam, now I'm getting the communication that I've been seeking over and over again once I asked to speak to an office manager. And I feel like it just shouldn't be like pulling teeth. So, because I've always had great communication with her, but until this breakdown in communication. So she apologized several times for the lack of communication. She kind of put it on her boss and said that she was, and he's kind of the head of their rheumatology department. And so she said that she had reached out to him several times to get some additional guidance with regard to my lab results. And she wanted to speak with him before consulting me, but she wasn't able to get any response from him. And I mean, who's to say whether or not that's true? To me, it only takes a second if I'm sending a message through a website account. It only takes a moment to respond to one of my messages and just say that, or say, anything. And for me to have received no response aside from the nurses, I mean, to me, that's unacceptable and it's poor customer service, but I don't know. So then she proceeded to go over my lab results, where I know that I have several abnormal results coming back, but it was like it was like that 10% of abnormal results where 90% were normal. And so she kept going on and on about how, this one was completely normal. This one's completely normal. I was thinking that this wouldn't be normal, but based off of your symptoms, but this one was completely normal as well. Excuse me. So she kept saying what was completely normal. And she said that there were some things that were elevated and some things that were abnormal and that were questionable to her. And she's curious about and doesn't understand why those things are abnormal if everything else is normal. And so the bottom line is not abnormal enough to make a diagnosis, but abnormal enough that I'll see them in a couple months to redo the labs. So great news, or I'll say good news, but not great news. Great to hear that things were mostly normal, which I already knew because I've done all the research since I've had to wait so long. But bad because it's like I'm just sick of the constant, unanswered questions. But I did get my MRI done today. I did meet with that new surgeon yesterday. So I always find the silver lining in things. I try to. So I just wanted to report back on all of that. Thankful that my back doesn't hurt as bad as it did yesterday. So yeah, so that's that. I don't really have much else. I'll just be, just trying to really get some rest and making sure that I keep taking my over-the-counter medication that I was trying not to take. But the way that I felt yesterday, I absolutely have to. Like, there's just, I felt too bad. Like, I literally, to get up to go to the restroom was such a chore. I mean, it was really hard. So anyway, that's that. So I just wanted to keep everybody updated. Like I said, I would. Hopefully I will film some of the content that I've been promising this weekend, and I will post that. But thanks so much for joining me today. And I just hope that everyone stays safe and has a great, blessed weekend. Ashe, peace.